Hey guys, King of Charmanders here. Today I bring to you the best Gold Rathian weapon guides, all weapon types, and the poison exploit meta. This video features the best builds using the Gold Rathian weapons. Gold Rathian weapons are the strongest poison elemental status weapons in the game, except for the bow, which is dragon. They're so powerful thanks to the new poison exploit skill. Gold Rathian weapons get 2 levels at grade 8. First, we're going to start off with the melee builds, starting off with the top 5 Gold Rathian weapons when it comes to melee, and here's a comparison. So the top build uses the Resuscitate / Bubbly Dance build, and the next build that does not use a conditional skill like Resuscitate / Fighting Spirit and is more consistent uses Burst level 5. So you can't overly rely on Bubbly Dance / Resuscitate because it's conditional. Anything that's conditional isn't going to be consistent. This assumes that the battle's perfect or most things go right, so you can't really rely on Bubbly Dance or Fighting Spirit. However, you can rely on Burst 5. There is one above it though, however that build requires the Lunar Mask and doesn't have lock-on. The Lunar Mask isn't available right now to build, so I'm not going to have you sweat about it, especially since it's 5 points off. And speaking of the points of damage, overall there's a little difference between the 5 builds. It's a 3% damage difference between all of them, so don't sweat it. It's literally so minimal no matter which one you use, you're not going to even notice the damage falling off or the comparison between all of them. And that brings us to the best Gold Rathian melee build, number 1. So this build uses the Bubbly Dance / Resuscitate mechanic. You got a new piece of gear in the Gold Rathian coil, which gives you lock on and resuscitate. And this build does the most theoretical practical damage overall at 3,225. However, remember, it's not completely consistent because it relies on a conditional skill like Bubbly Dance. Lock-on is provided by the Gold Rathian coil and the Coral Bouquet helm. So unfortunately you're double dipping here, but you're gonna have some places like that, like with the Coral Bouquet helm and the Rathian Van Braces, etc. And this build provides Poison Exploit level 2 from the Gold Rathian weapons. If you want to use this build, you need the Gold Rathian melee weapons at grade 10 or higher, the Coral Bouquet helmet at grade 8, the Mizutsune Ma at grade 6, the Mizutsune Van Braces at grade 6, the Gold Rathian coil at grade 8, and the Mizutsune Greaves at grade 8. Next up, we have the best Gold Rathian melee build at number 2, and it is Burst level 5, so you max out Burst to level 5 with this build. And this build does a theoretical practical damage of 3,151, with lock-on being provided by the Rathian Van Braces. Now this build was actually the standard meta build for the Pink Rathian melee weapons and still works for the Gold Rathian melee weapons. So Burst 5 again was a standard from before. Guess what? If you built this, you rejoice. You don't have to build anything new. You could use the same thing and it is still meta. And this build provides Poison Exploit level 2 from the Gold Rathian weapons. So good thing is you might already have this built and you just keep on using it if you want to. To use this build, you need the Gold Rathian melee weapons at grade 10 or higher. You need the Zenogre helmet at grade 6, the Rathalos mail at grade 6, the Rathian Van Braces at grade 6, the Rathian coil at grade 6, and the Zenogre Greaves at grade 6. Next, we move on to the ranged weapons, starting with the light bowgun. And here we have the top 5 Gold Rathian light bowgun builds. We're going to compare them. As you see, the top build that doesn't use Fighting Spirit has Poison Exploit at level 4. It also has reload speed and recoil down maxed out to maximize DPS. As with every light bowgun, you need these 2 maxed out. Luckily, there's a lot of ways you can do it, and with Gold Rathian, unfortunately, you're going to have to max them out and then fill out the slots with other things to get the most damage. And this brings us to the best Gold Rathian light bowgun build. This build has Poison Exploit at level 4, provided by your weapon, as well as the Gold Rathian Van Braces. And this build does the most theoretical practical damage without Fighting Spirit at 3,648. Fighting Spirit is a conditional skill, it's not super consistent, so even though it does rank the highest right here, that assumes that everything goes perfectly. Without a conditional skill, this is more consistent, and this build uses reload speed and recoil down level 3 to max out DPS. The Gold Rathian light bowgun takes advantage of poison ammo being able to quickly poison a monster and unload your spread / sticky ammo onto it after it's poisoned. You should be able to light up the monster with all of your bullets, your 5 spread ammo, and 3 sticky ammo after poisoning it from my own tests, and you will notice the damage difference immediately. It's actually pretty nuts. To use this build, you need the Gold Rathian light bowgun at grade 10 or higher, the Coral Bouquet helmet at grade 8, the Palumu mail at grade 6, the Gold Rathian Van Braces at grade 8, the Puke Coil at grade 6, and the Azarathlos Greaves at grade 6. Moving on, now that we cover the light bowgun, well, we have the heavy bowgun now. And here are the top 5 Gold Rathian heavy bowgun builds. Here's a comparison of them, and it actually took a second for me to put the data together because literally all 25 had Fighting Spirit. So I had to manually input everything to find out which one is the best. And as we see here per the data, recoil down level 1 and reload speed level 3 is the standard. That leaves you 3 slots open. So I played around with it a lot, and to my knowledge, and this for most of the top builds using Fighting Spirit, but after running a lot of data, I found that Poison Exploit level 5 is the most consistent heavy bowgun build. So you see that one I circled right here? Yes. All of that was Fighting Spirit, and next we have this one with Poison Exploit 5 and Weakness Exploit level 2. And if you want to use that build, well, here it is, the best Gold Rathian heavy bowgun build, and this build has Poison Exploit maxed out at level 5. It also does a theoretical practical damage without Fighting Spirit at 3,342. When you have conditional skills, it's not consistent. This one is, because you don't have any conditional skills. And it uses recoil down level 1 and reload speed level 3 as is standard for the Gold Rathian heavy bowgun. Now the thing is, with Gold Rathian heavy bowgun, it can quickly inflict poison and allow you to unload your pierce ammo. You have 8 bullets for pierce ammo. Poison it, and then unload your salvo of pierce ammo, and you go and see big numbers. To use this build, you need the Gold Rathian heavy bowgun at grade 10 or higher, the Puke helmet at grade 8, the Magnum Mail at grade 6, the Gold Rathian Van Braces at grade 8, the Puke Coil at grade 6, and the Gold Rathian Greaves at grade 8. And for the last weapon type we are going to cover, it is the bow, and here we have the top 5 Gold Rathian bow builds. Here's a comparison for them, and it's going to be different than the others because it is Dragon Elemental. But there's actually something interesting for it. As we see per the data, the top build uses latent power at level 2. However, it's not consistent because you need latent power to activate in order for that data to come true. And the most consistent build uses critical element level 1 and a combination of critical eye/critical boosts. Now the only problem, like I mentioned before, is that in order for you to have Poison Exploit level 2 go off, you actually need someone else to have poison. So you need another person in your group, or you need a friend, and that person needs to poison them in order for you to do maximum damage. At the same time, this assumes the monster is weak to dragon, and one of the scenarios you have this is Kushala Deora, where they are weak to poison and dragon. So that's probably the only combination you're going to see when you're going to go against that Elder Dragon, that Steel Metal Winged Dragon Deathbed of whatever you want to call it. That's perfect for those two, poison and dragon. And this brings us to the best Gold Rathian bow builds. At number 1, we have a build that uses latent power level 2. This build does the most theoretical practical damage with latent power at 5,779. However, this build requires latent power level 2 to activate to be consistent. Anything that has a conditional skill is not going to be completely consistent unless it activates and goes on for the remainder of the battle. However, it does have focus level 5 thanks to the Azarathlos Helm and the Rajang Coil. So in order to use this build, you need the Gold Rathian bow at grade 10 or higher, the Azarathlos helmet at grade 6, the Deviljho mail at grade 6, the Azarathlos fan braces at grade 6, the Rajang Coil at grade 8, and the Silver Rathlos Greaves at grade 8. Next up, we have the best Gold Rathian bow build, number 2. This build uses critical eye/critical boost. And this build is the second most theoretical practical damage without latent power at 5,695. You can also use the Carnival 2024 mail in place of the Odo Garen mail if you want. Both will give you critical eye, so if you're going to upgrade that, you can use that in place of here. It's also easier to upgrade that to grade 8, and you don't have to upgrade it to grade 8, but it's really cheap in comparison to the Odo Garen mail, even though it's at grade 6. And it has focus level 5 thanks to the Azarathlos helm and the Rajang Coil. To use this build, you need the Gold Rathalos bow at grade 10 or higher, the Odo Garen mail at grade 6, Azarathlos fan braces at grade 6, the Rajang Coil at grade 8, and the Silver Rathalos Greaves at grade 8.
Don't get mad. Zen! What happened?
Zen! It's poisoned.
Hopefully this video helps you what Gold Rathian build you're looking to go after. Here I'm using the Gold Rathian heavy bowgun at a fresh forge. It's 6.1 versus a 9-star Basarios. Remember, in order for Poison Exploit to activate, the monster must be poisoned first. However, despite that, you're going to see just how powerful the Gold Rathian weapons are, even if you aren't able to proc or take advantage of Poison Exploit, because I get stunned by this roar right here, so it was really annoying. But despite that, you're going to see just how much this heavy bowgun is just going to go off against this majestic flaming beast. It's actually pretty nuts how much damage it does. Look at that. Yeah. You're going to see, it's pretty crazy at how much heavy bowgun is able to just do this, but then again, Basarios is one of the easiest monsters to slay in the game, so it's impressive, but it's also not impressive at the same time. But you're seeing right here just like how much, in order for you to actually take advantage of it, you must poison it, and I'm actually not going to be able to take much advantage of it because of the fact that you see right here, this thing actually doesn't take the bait. I'm able to take advantage of it for probably like 3 seconds. Despite that, I'm still able to slay this 9-star Basarios. So I hope y'all enjoyed that. So please do me a huge favor, like, subscribe, and comment for the YouTube algorithm. Good luck on your drops for global. And hopefully y'all enjoyed this showcase. And I'll see y'all on the next video.